Monika, I would like to ask you about anti-Zionism.
Right.
There are so many confusion. There's so much confusion about this. What Zionism is, but also then what anti-Zionism even mean, and how is this connected to particularly these new forms of anti-Semitism today?
Right. So I do think before we can speak about anti-Zionism, we have to speak about Zionism. And Zionism is a political national movement of Jewish people in several different parts of the world to seek sovereignty and a national homeland and national home. A state, so to speak. And this was very strongly affected by being persecuted. And almost at the same time, also Palestinians were seeking or created a national movement, which was not on the same level and organized as Zionism, but I think what is very important to mention, and I should have mentioned that before, is that when in the beginning of the 19th century there was the establishment of Zionism as a movement, there was immediately anti-Zionism. And that anti-Zionism was mostly in the Jewish community, but also outside of the Jewish community. And this very much shifted after the Shoah. Since the Shoah, anti-Zionism is a fringe movement in the Jewish community because Jews understood what can happen to them, and since then it's, I would say, supported by the vast majority of Jewish people, and only a very, very fringe part of Jews is anti-Zionistic or critical to anti-Zionism, which I think is also not the same.
Critical to Zionism.
Critical to Zionism. There are also different streams of Zionism, which is mostly forgotten and nobody talks about it anymore. Like there is very liberal Zionism, like Martin Buber, Herzl, and then there's Zionism like Nordau and Jabotinsky. And Jabotinsky was, I would say, the most radical, and it's I would say the Zionism that we currently have in the state of Israel and is guiding the government there. So, but what is actually more interesting is the anti-Zionism outside of the Jewish communities, which was immediately there and gained also a lot of traction. There was anti-Zionism in the Nazi movement and in other authoritarian dictatorships and states, and there were pogroms against Jews. And this is still finding its continuity in what we are facing today. I would argue that the anti-Zionism we are having today is very, very little real discussion dealing with what Zionism actually is. The vast majority, I think, has nothing to do with anti-Zionism anymore. It's just hate. And specifically after the 7th of October, the word Zionism is used as a dehumanizing term to justify violence against Jews.
As a code?
Code, yeah. As a code, yeah. Also, yeah. So there is hardly any factual debate or like for me it would be most relevant research based discussions on what Zionism actually is and what anti-Zionism is. It has become really a form or a way to legitimize anti-Semitism and violence. And I think I said that a little bit wrong, or I should have said in a better way that in the for instance in the Nazi in the Nazi state, in the Nazi ideology, it was not anti-Zionism, it was anti-Semitic anti-Zionism. And also in the other authoritarian state, it was anti-Semitic anti-Zionism. It was the delegitimization of Jewish independence, of seeking Jewish statehood based on racist anti-Semitic stereotypes.
What I'm noticing often, particularly in the left anti-Semitism today, is a phrase, a kind of like, not always a hashtag when it's social media, but also on posters and other physical spaces, that they would like write down with Zionism and then down with anti-Semitism, kind of like you see, we are not against the Jews, but we are against Zionism, which somehow is something else. And that was always confusing for me, because I've never understood how could you say I'm against Zionism and then against anti-Semitism in the same sentence, except if the one is a code word for Jews in general or for Israel as a state, and the other is a kind of like a shield to protect yourself from accusations, but still you ending up being anti-Semitic in your statement.
I don't think it's so easy. I think we really need to look closer and differentiate more, because you can be against Zionism and still be against anti-Semitism. But I think the majority of what if you just write a slogan and say this like, debate is not your goal, right? You just want to, it's just the politicization of both terms, right? You weaponize the word anti-Semitism or the fight against anti-Semitism to, say whatever you want. But I'm really, I would never say that anti-Zionism is per se anti-Semitism. I think that is cutting it way too short, also given that a very big community of Jews, that Sardim, are per se anti-Zionists. But they're anti-Zionists for very different reasons. It has theological reasons, so they're not to be compared. But they're there, right? And also, kids of Holocaust survivors and so on say they are anti-Zionists, and I don't want to take that from them. They have a voice, and they can say what they want. What nobody can be is anti-Semitic, and this is what we have to insist on. And I do see on social media that the majority of posts that claim to be anti-Zionist are communicated through anti-Semitic codes. You see it also in demonstrations that we are having. Also, when I debate with students at my university, I hear, that it's filled with anti-Semitic stereotypes, and this needs to be confronted, because it's dangerous. It's really, really dangerous. And Jewish people are afraid, and Jewish people get attacked as soon as they say they have a relationship to Israel, or they are Zionists, because Jewish people also have the right to be Zionists.
Thank you very much, Monika.